Let's talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is happening right now all around us. Imagine a simple cut on your finger becoming life-threatening, or routine surgeries being just too dangerous to even attempt. This isn't a movie plot. It's the very real threat of what's called antimicrobial resistance, or AMR for short. It's a silent pandemic, and today we're going to dive deep into this crisis, focusing on India, which is really at the heart of this global fight.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if the antibiotics that have saved millions of lives, the medicines that formed the very foundation of modern healthcare, just stopped working? It's a pretty scary thought, right? Well, that's exactly what this crisis is all about.
To get a sense of just how serious this is, look at this number: 10 million. That's how many people are projected to die from AMR every single year by 2050 if we don't change course. To put that into perspective for you, that's more people than currently die from cancer each year. This isn't some far-off problem, it's a public health storm that's gathering speed right now. So what exactly is AMR? Well, think of it like this. Our antibiotics are like these super complex security codes designed to take out harmful bacteria. But you see, bacteria are incredibly smart and they adapt. Every time we misuse an antibiotic, we're basically giving them a chance to crack our code. AMR is what happens when these germs become master code breakers. They figure out how to survive our best drugs, and then they multiply, creating entire armies of resistant superbugs. Okay, so let's zoom in from the global view and talk about India. With its huge population and unique healthcare landscape, India is often called the epicenter of the AMR crisis. The challenge on the ground there is just immense. And this number is just staggering. In 2019 alone, almost 300,000 deaths in India were directly caused by drug-resistant bacteria. And we're not just talking about statistics on a page here. These are people, moms, dads, friends, children, who are lost to infections that honestly should have been treatable. The burden is incredibly heavy, and it's getting heavier by the day.
So you might be asking, what's fueling this fire? Well, a massive part of the problem is just how easy it is to get antibiotics. I think many of us can relate to this. You feel a little sick, you pop down to the local pharmacy, and you can walk out with a strip of antibiotics, no doctor's note needed. This easy over-the-counter access means these powerful drugs are often used when they're not needed at all, which gives bacteria more and more practice at beating them.
And here's something else many of us might be guilty of. You go to the doctor, they give you a 5-day course of antibiotics. But after, say, 3 days, you're feeling much better, so you just stop taking them, right? Well, here's the problem with that. The antibiotics kill off the weakest bacteria first. When you stop your course early, you're leaving the toughest, most resistant bacteria behind. And what do? They survive, they multiply, and they create a whole new generation of superbugs that are much, much harder to kill next time. Now, you might be thinking this is strictly a human health issue, but the story is actually way bigger than that. The way this resistance spreads is super complex, and it involves our food, our water, our entire environment. This right here shows a massive awareness gap. I mean, check this out. Imagine you're in a room with 10 people, but only 2 of them know where the fire escape is. That's basically what a study in West Bengal found. Every single dairy farmer they talked to used antibiotics for their cows, but less than 1 in 5 had ever even heard of antimicrobial resistance. That disconnect is, wow, it's a huge breakdown in communication. And all of this creates a really nasty, vicious cycle. So it starts with misuse in us, in people. Then it gets amplified by misuse in farm animals, where antibiotics are often just used to make them grow faster. These newly resistant bacteria then get out into the environment through animal waste, and they contaminate the soil and the water. And from there, well, they can spread right back to us. It's all one big, interconnected loop. So how on earth do we break a cycle that big? The problem is definitely complex, but the good news is there's a coordinated plan in motion. And it's a strategy that looks at the whole picture. It's called the One Health approach. And the idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but really powerful. It says that to solve a problem that affects people, animals, and the environment, you have to tackle all 3 at the same time. You can't just focus on what's happening in hospitals. You also have to look at what's happening on farms and in our water systems. This kind of integrated approach is really the foundation of India's national strategy. And here you can see the pillars of that strategy. India's National Action Plan is built around these 6 key goals. It covers everything from making the public more aware, to training doctors, to strengthening surveillance so we can actually track where these superbugs are popping up. It also means better infection control and, of course, smarter use of antibiotics in both people and animals. And you know what? We're already seeing real progress. These aren't just plans on a piece of paper. In 2017, India joined the Global Surveillance Network, which is a huge deal for tracking resistance. Then, in 2019, an absolutely massive step was taken. The government banned the use of colistin, which is one of our last resort, break glass in case of emergency antibiotics for humans, from being used just to fatten up chickens. These are major policy wins. So, we've looked at the problem and we've looked at the national strategy. But this isn't just a fight for governments and scientists. Not at all. This is a fight where every single one of us has a role to play. And the truth is, really small actions can add up to have a huge impact. First, and this one is so important, always finish your full prescription, even if you start to feel better. Second, never ever share your antibiotics or use leftover ones from an old illness. Third, remember, antibiotics only work on bacteria. They do absolutely nothing for viruses like a cold or the flu, so please don't pressure your doctor for them if you don't need them. And finally, the simplest thing of all, just practice good hygiene. Washing your hands is still one of the best ways to stop infections from spreading in the first place. Which really leaves us with this one last big question. The discovery of antibiotics was one of the greatest miracles in the history of medicine. It changed everything. The fight against AMR is really a fight to protect that miracle. So I'll ask you, are we ready for a post-antibiotic world? Because that's the path we're on if we don't act. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.